This is the scene right now in Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes is gearing up to not only begin to save the Chiefs season and hopefully find a way to make the postseason for one more time on his way to becoming one of the greatest of all time. But at the end of the day, we don't need to see Patrick Mahomes hanging his head, the offensive line unable to protect him. How are they going to be able to do that with three backup offensive linemen? Things stacked against them on Sunday Night Football against the Houston Texans and one of the most ferocious defenses in the NFL. Well, we are going to talk about that today here on RGR Football at the Game Plan. My name is Daniel Harms, you guys, senior film analyst, and we're dealing with some technical stuff. I have a new camera. As you can't tell, there's a little bit of shading differences. I actually got rid of the bars. Finally, they're gone, so we have no worries there. However, you guys, this is all about one thing and one thing only. Being able to win a football game when your back's against the wall. Andy Reid has talked about it pretty much for the last 5 weeks about how every game is a must win. The players themselves have talked about how these are all must wins, but the effort on the field has not been consistent. It has not been a team that shows that this is really backs against the wall, live or die, do or die situations. So that's what we have to talk about. The grand scheme, the theme of this week was Andy Reid coming out earlier, I think on Tuesday, talking about how Wanya Morris would play right tackle and Wanya Morris would play left tackle and Jalen Moore would play right tackle when it came down to what would happen with those two players out. Josh Simmons going on IR early in the week. His season is over. And Jawan Taylor having that elbow injury. So then he comes out today and says that they've been practicing both sides and there's room for, and we don't really know who's going to play where. However, there's going to be a balloon in here from my daughter, Halloween balloon that's still up. Very interesting. But you guys, when we see what Andy Reid's doing, honestly, it's hard to know what his actual plan is, right? We don't know what he actually believes, if he's giving the media truth, if he's talking real about playing Jalen Moore at right tackle versus left tackle. What's actually going to happen? At the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is having a true game plan for having three backups along the offensive line. That is the real only thing that matters right here. So my very first point for your game plan is scheme up the offensive line, run the damn ball. Because when we go back to 2022, the one thing that really clicks into my head was the game that they played against the San Francisco 49ers in the regular season, where Andy Reid schemed for Nick Bosa specifically. Now, I know that it's one player, you have a relatively healthy offensive line, but that's the Andy Reid that we need to see. We need to see him with a true game plan, actually self-scouting during a mini-bye, not just half-assing the prep, saying that Patrick's going to be able to save us, because guess what? You don't have a healthy offensive line. You cannot allow Patrick to be the end-all be-all, to be the last man standing, because he might be the last man standing or might be on the ground. We don't know what's going to happen if you've got three offensive linemen that are backups playing in a game. I can tell you right now, they're going up against Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr., who's on the front of this on the thumbnail for a reason. They are coming after Patrick Mahomes. And if you guys watch their defense, they don't care if you know what coverage they're playing. They don't care if you know that they're not blitzing. None of that matters. They don't blitz very much, and they run a lot of the same cover one, cover three, pretty much man coverage. You're going to get what you get, and we're going to rush four. And they are looking to destroy your offensive line. And that's exactly what they're going to look to do with Wanya Morris at left tackle or right tackle. It doesn't really matter. So, like I said, the very first point for me is you have to be able to get out, not just with an early lead, right? Because I still think this Houston Texans offense is not where it needs to be. And I think that the Chiefs defense can play well enough at home to confuse them, to get them. I don't think that they're really firing on all cylinders. Can they take advantage of the offensive line? I don't know. But this game reminds me a lot of not just the postseason game that they played last year, but of the Ravens game a few years ago in the postseason, in the AFC Championship game, where if they get out to an early lead, if they're able to kind of take Houston by surprise with a couple of different wrinkles early in this football game, their offense might not be successful in the second half, but I think the defense can play well enough to get the job done. So that's the really the big thing, is that the beginning and middle of the second quarter are the most important parts of this football game, because you can't You cannot hope to come back in a football game with this pass rush that you're facing with 3 backup offensive linemen. You can't do it. So Andy Reid, please come out with a real game plan and have something up your sleeve with the run game, with motions, with jet sweeps to make defensive ends think twice about just teeing off on the quarterback. How's everyone doing tonight? I hope your Friday is going well as well, Chef. Excuse me. No, I'm doing all right, guys. It's been a frustrating week, obviously, with Andy Reid talking, I don't know, seemingly out of both sides of his mouth along the offensive line. It's been a very weird, interesting conversation. Hearing that Steve Spagnuolo was ticked off, not shocking. If you guys watched the film room on Wednesday, you know exactly why he was ticked off, and I showed you guys what was going on those third downs, and a lot of it was Steve Spagnuolo as well. And that's got to be a frustrating situation. He's one of the only coaches on the staff that I think actually self-evaluates well and takes things hard. I don't think Andy Reid takes things hard. Kind of feels like he believes that no matter what, they're just a few plays away. They're just a little bit of execution away, and they're going to be just fine. And while that's been a kind of true at some points in the past, right now they're too predictable. So what do you mean? I might have to change some settings if we've got something going on here. Let me know what you mean so I can kind of fix this if that's what's going on. Because I'm not entirely sure if that's true. Huh, I don't know what that is. Cuts off at your eyes. I don't know what that is. All right, I think I might know what's going on. Like I said, we're dealing with some technical difficulties. So if you guys are on your phones, there's a very good chance that it's on vertical display or a horizontal display. I don't know why that is. StreamYard has changed once again, and it's confusing to me. Tracy says, for a while, I could only see your mouth, and I had to close the app and refresh over and over again until it finally fixed itself. Oh, great. That's awesome. So looks like StreamYard's having itself an evening. Horizontal. Okay, yeah. I think that there's some problems with how this is displaying itself, which is not great for everybody. I apologize, guys. I don't know what's going on with it. Okay. Well, I'm going to keep going. If you guys have it might be YouTube and StreamYard connected together. All I know is that I can't change anything right now. And if you guys are on horizontal, it should be okay. And that should allow everyone to get in here and get going. So hopefully I can actually change it here. Sure. Yeah. All right. That's one thing I can't do. All right. Well, let's go ahead and talk about the Chiefs, right? I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. We'll see what happens with YouTube and if that's on StreamYard's end or not. But at the end of the day, I'm going to get to my second point, you guys. Hopefully you are doing well. Again, this is the Friday night game plan. We're going to talk what it takes to win this football game, what it actually means if they can win the football game in Kansas City on Sunday Night Football. My very first point was Andy Reid needs to come out and have a real game plan, whether it's running the football, actually needs to include running the football, as well as having a real plan for the rushers. And that's really what this comes down to. Those are one of the things that makes the most impact when you have multiple offensive linemen out. Can you run the football consistently? And if you can, you'll be able to, I think, actually throw the football pretty well. And then a couple of things that I just want to see, because as much as we talk about real game plans, that's the end all be all how they win this football game. I laid it out to you guys. You have to have a plan for the rushers. You have to have a real game plan to run the football and protect Patrick. So what I want to see on defense specifically, okay, we know the pass rush is not good. We understand that George Karlaftis, yeah, that's vertical view. So I don't know why it's doing that on YouTube. It makes no sense to me. Fantastic. Gotta love it. All right. Well, we know George Karlaftis is not the guy to be a number one pass rusher. We know that everyone else is pretty much funneling around Chris Jones. So Chris himself has to be an elite football player, and he has to wreck this game everywhere. He has to be able to line up at the defensive end. He has to be able to line up defense tackle wherever it is. He has to be able to wreck this game on his own and get after the quarterback. CJ Stroud's coming back. He didn't have a great week last week against the Colts. They were able to come out on top in large part because of the defense, and he made some plays as well. But he and Nico Collins are the 1-2 punch, right? It's all what really matters in defending this football team. The run game is getting a little bit better for Houston, but they have to be able to stop the explosives. If you force the Texans into not only having to throw the football by getting out to that early lead that I talked about, if you force them to have to go long drives, this is an offense prone to mistakes, much like the Chiefs' offense is prone to mistakes. They have a poor offensive line. They don't consistently run the ball well. And at the end of the day, if you take away the number one receiver, they have players that can make things happen. But if you force CJ Stroud through his progressions coming back from his injury, I think that's the best way to be able to do that. And so we know Chamari Connor is going to be on the field. We know Nick Bolton in coverage as well. You don't have CRW out there, so you're going to have to do some things differently coverage wise in being able to actually affect and impact the real coverage. So Chris Jones has to win consistently on pretty much every single down. That's hard to do. And we need to see an actual improvement from anybody. One defensive player on the front four has to bring something. We don't know who it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be George Karlaftis, but I know somebody has to bring something. So on the defensive side, I need to see really what this comes down to, a culmination of Chris Jones being Chris Jones like he has been over the first 2 weeks of these last 2 weeks, but also someone has to step up. I want it to be Leo Chanel. Personally, I know a couple of people in the chat have talked about Leo, but that's what we have to see. We have to see him be more usable in coverage. We have to see him affect the quarterback and really set a hard edge, get after some of these offensive linemen. So I know everyone else along the defensive line hasn't been up to snuff as a pass rusher. I want to see Leo Chanel tee off today on Sunday night. I need to see him be a real game changer, a real X factor for this defense next to Chris Jones, wherever it ends up lining up, because I think that he has that talent and he can actually impact the game. So I'm interested to see what the defensive game plan is, because that's one thing I can't tell you guys. I figure I pretty much have a good idea what Andy Reid's going to do. I do think being in this kind of situation with the offensive line, the way that it is, you have to run the ball. But Spags is pissed. Spags is pissed off at his team for being awful on third down and being in situations multiple times this season with the game in hand, the opportunity to get the football back to Patrick Mahomes, and they've been unable to do so. Jalen Watson is going to have a much better game. Trent McDuffie has to answer back. And again, not playing, you play the exact same way you played last week, because that is still how you win in the league. He was a little grabby. He was a little, holding a little bit, but I'm okay with that. I think he was in good position. He got called on some ticky-tacky things. Jalen Watson, on the other hand, really needs to play better. So all of that needs to really happen. FLDB, thank you again for being a member here and one of our moderators. But for 54 months, that's incredible. It looks fine on YouTube desktop, Dan. My wife just tried it on YouTube desktop and it didn't actually look great. So I don't know what's going on with YouTube as well as StreamYard, because they have a new section now where you have to select a category, and it's either landscape or vertical, or landscape and vertical. So it feels like it's projecting on YouTube in both ways, and it's a random who gets what. I don't know. I don't like it. I'm never going to click that again on StreamYard, and I can't stand this app. Hopefully we can find something better. Oh, is that what it is? Oh, that's very weird. I don't know why that happens. I did not do that, by the way. That is not me. I didn't know I was live on YouTube Shorts as well. I don't want that. That makes me uncomfortable. Oh, that's really weird. Okay. I don't like that. And I can't really change it. Oh, I see. You're right. Okay. Whatever. I'm just going to keep going with it. No big deal. I'm just not going to select that again. I'm not going to be on YouTube Shorts again. I did not realize that's what was going to happen. But thank you, FLDB, for letting me know. And again, thank you for being a member here for 54 months. Cody, 43, just on the tail right there of FLDB. Thank you, man, for being one of our members. Offensive efficiency, the deciding factor in this game. I don't disagree with that. I mean, that's kind of been the Chiefs' success the entire year. They've had to sustain drives. And, I was listening to Mitchell Schwartz this week on the Athletic podcast, and I've seen what he has talked about on Twitter. These are things that Ryan and I have been talking about for a long time, about how when you can't create explosive plays, you have to be almost perfect to score touchdowns. The Chiefs have had long drives, and been unable to get in the end zone with penalties, bringing them back for field goals, having just miscommunications, just having general lapses of judgment, and they're unable to capitalize on good drives, and they have to settle for field goals. So the efficiency has been there. It's very difficult to sustain those long drives and score touchdowns when you get 9 or 8 drives a game, right? That's hard to do consistently every single game. If you can't consistently generate explosive plays on the ground and through the air, it makes that margin for error in any play, in any drive, it makes it so much smaller, because you can't consistently sustain those 12, 13, 14 play drives and expect to score touchdowns at the end of them. You're going to have a penalty. You're going to have something go wrong along the way. And because the Chiefs are really unable to get 3rd and 15 or 2nd and 20 down to first downs like they used to in the past, it has created this dynamic in the offense where we know they won't run the football from under center. We know their run game is fine, but eventually they'll run away from it, and then they can't create explosives in the passing game consistently. So a defense just understands that and figures it out. Grant, the camera is the exact same spot that it's always been. It's just in a different location in terms of landscape versus vertical. So that's on me for selecting that in StreamYard. It won't happen again. But yeah, so, and on top of all of that, guys, we have a new sponsor. Actually, they're not really a new sponsor, a returning sponsor. Our friends at Underdog are back, and we appreciate their support always. You guys, you should go check them out. Do the same.
Underdog just dropped prediction markets, spreads, totals, and team outcomes. And the best part, you can combine them with player picks for bigger multipliers. It's available. You could sign up today with the code RGRFootball and make a $5 fantasy entry to get $100 in fantasy bonus entries. Prediction markets are live now in 25 states, including Texas, California, and Florida. And Underdog is available in over 40 states with player picks and draft games. Prediction markets, player picks, all on Underdog.
We thank Underdog for being a part of us for the rest of the season, at least we assume. And we'll see how it goes before. But you guys go ahead and check out Underdog. It's always a lot of fun to get in there and make your picks and then sweat it out, as the games go along. So that's a lot of fun to have. One more point I want to make before we get to some score predictions. I answer some questions. Rashee Rice. Okay. I've seen a lot of people saying that the Chiefs wide receiver room is missing that big bodied X receiver, and they need to have one of those guys like a George Pickens in the offense. The problem is, I don't think that they need that. One, I think they have 2 players that can suffice, or that can actually bring that to the offense, and it's Tyquan Thornton and Rashee Rice. But I want to see Rashee Rice run real slant routes at least 8 times a game that are non-RPOs. And this is more of a wish on my part than a point to the game. Granted, I think it would be hugely helpful for the offense to run real routes and to run over routes and to run the intermediate passing game through slants and digs and intermediate overs. All of those seemingly have left the offense, and we're getting drag routes. We're getting flats. We're getting all of those outward breaking routes toward the sideline, not enough over the middle of the field. Run Xavier Worthy on some over routes, just things where he's moving horizontally. But I think Rashee Rice, when he's engaged in the football game, inside, outside, playing in the slot, he can do a lot more with his footwork and his release packages to be able to make those guys miss, right? I think he can do that in the slot. I think he can do it out wide and give him some slants, some post routes, things where he can manipulate and actually use his explosiveness not only after the catch but to create separation. I know it's going to be difficult against this secondary. It's one of the best in football, and if he's matched up with Jalen Petrie, one of the best slot corners in football for the Texans, that's going to be a tough matchup for him. However, if you line him up on the outside against Derek Stingley, I don't like that matchup either. So I think getting him in the slot on a smaller Jalen Petrie, letting him be more physical and use some of those slants and explosiveness to his advantage, I think you can take that to the Houston Texans defense. So I want to see Rashee Rice be the focal point of the passing game, not swing routes. Okay. Eliminate some of the RPOs. I want to see that completely gone. Not completely, obviously, but stop running the offense through RPOs. Under center, real run game, and please get Brashard Smith the football. It's been past time. It's past time to get him the football. Not just explosiveness you're missing from the run game. You're missing somebody that can make guys miss. You don't have that. I love what Kareem Hunt has brought to your run game. I love it. But he's not an explosive player. He's not going to make a ton of guys miss. And he needs to get into space, right? He has to have that going in order to break a 13-yard run. He needs almost a perfect behind the line of scrimmage play. Brashard Smith doesn't need it perfect. He just needs a lane, right? He needs to make guys miss. And I think we need to see some pitches, some outside zone from under center. That'd be fantastic. I'd love to see that. Again, this is more on a wish perspective for me. We've talked about it a lot. When it comes down to what I think the Chiefs are actually going to do in this game, I think that Spags is going to dial back the blitzes a little bit. We might see more simulated pressures. And if you guys don't know what that is, it's where you see multiple guys come up to the line of scrimmage, right? Whether it's a linebacker, whether it's a corner, and then somebody still blitzes, like say they bring a corner, but they drop somebody out. We know Spags likes to do simulated pressures with his blitzes, but a true simulated pressure is still rushing 4 and dropping those guys back, but having the rushers come from different places. This is the offensive line that I think you can take advantage of that miscommunication with and cause some free rushers. And that's what I want to see. I want to see more true simulated pressures, or maybe a linebacker is coming and then a defensive end's dropping out. Or say you have Leo Chanel lined up as a defensive end on that, excuse me, that 3-3 line that they do with 3 linebackers and 3 defensive linemen, and you bring Leo Chanel down. Maybe you could fake him into that either A gap or B gap. You can drop him out into coverage and do some of those, have some games, right? See some loops, some twists, some stunts, all these different things. I need them to break that out in this football game. And I do think that Spags is going to start bringing more of that to the fold. Andy Reid's going to get under center, I think, truly run the football a little bit more because he has to with this offensive line. And if they don't, they're just going to be in trouble. So with that, hopefully we see that. But for me, the first part of the game plan is Andy Reid, protect Patrick Mahomes. That comes back to running the football, having a real game plan for Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter. Jet sweeps, motions, confuse the defensive ends. Don't let them tee off on Patrick Mahomes. Can't do that. Then, on the defensive side of the ball, Chris Jones has to continue to play at the level he's played the last 2 weeks, coming out of the bye, be a guy who takes over games, and Leo Chanel has to be an impact player as a pass rusher. I know that's hard for him to do. He's not always asked to do it, but George Karlaftis is not answering the bell. We know Mike Dana, we know Charles Omenihu are also just role players. They're not doing anything, and not one defensive tackle besides Chris Jones can sniff a quarterback pressure. They can't do it. Somebody has to step up somewhere, and I think it needs to be Leo Chanel. So that's what are the big points. The 2 big points for me is those 2 things right there. And then I have a couple of wishes with Rashee Rice being the focal point of the passing attack, running some real slants and not just some of these bubble screens and RPOs. Get him to run real routes, line him up in the slot, move him around, do what you can, right? Maybe line him up in the backfield, motion him out, things like that to create some matchup problems, as well as hopefully getting Brashard Smith the football. I just think that they need to be able to do that. So we have a Super J here from Cody. Thank you very much, my friend. CJ, 7 bad versus the blitz. Get Bossa, Bolton, Chanel downhill. He's I don't think he's bad versus the blitz. I watched him beat a cover 0 blitz last week against the Colts, and plus this year the Chiefs have been unable to really generate free rushers on the blitz, much like unlike they have been able to in the past. I think if you could consistently get free rushers to CJ Stroud, then yes, I say you can blitz him. However, they've been unable to do so. I think they just have to confuse the offensive line a little bit more this time. They're not going to play Bossa, so I'm sorry, just put that out of your mind. But yes, get Bolton and Chanel downhill. Blitz Bolton more than you usually do if you're going to blitz him. Or again, send him on a blitz and drop somebody out. True simulated pressures. I think you can actually get after him that way. So I'm with you, Cody. Hopefully that's something that we get to see and get into right on the defensive side of the ball. So thank you very much for the super chat. You guys in the comments, please let me know the score. I want to know what you guys think the score is going to be. For me, I'm going to just because I don't know what this offensive line is going to look like. I know it's do or die. No backs are against the wall, but I don't see this team with an offensive line the way that it is and the way that Andy Reid has been playing, winning this football game. And that's the truth of it. I think they're going to lose 20-17. I'd love to see them. Again, I'd love to see them win. Hope they prove me wrong. But I do think that the Texans right now with this defense, the way that it's playing, is just too good. And the offense will do just enough against this defense that we have seen been unable to affect the quarterback. So I want to hear what you guys have to say. And let me know in the comments what you think the score will be. And again, hopefully they prove me wrong. Ryan and I will be live after the game on Sunday night to talk about and review the game with our notes. Hopefully you guys have a great weekend. We'll see you next time, and we'll see you after the game on Sunday.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.